Wait, those messages were being live broadcasted? Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death, is a first-person shooter cube sentencing simulator, jeez, say that 5 times fast, released in Europe on October 17th, 2003, and in North America February 23rd, 2005. Damn. The game was developed by Rebellion Developments and published by Vivendi Games. At the time of its release, the game was met with less than favorable reviews, with most critics lambasting the game for its dumb enemy AI, simple gameplay, and bland visuals. Some did praise the game's multiplayer, at least on the PC version, but that's about it. So let's find out if this is underrated jank or appropriately rated drock. For those not in the know, Judge Dredd is a comic book character created by John Wagner and Carlos Izquierda, first appearing in 2000 AD Comics. 2000 AD is a British weekly science fiction and fantasy anthology comic, first released in February of 1977. Along with Dredd, 2000 AD Comics was also home to such series like Nicola Dante, Thrarg the Mighty, Bone Storm, Nemesis the Warlock, Harlem Heroes, and Rogue Trooper. The Judge Dredd comic takes place in the year 2099, after a nuclear war has ravaged the planet. Most of what's left of the non-mutant population of North America lives within one or two megacities, Megacity 1 and Megacity 2, which cover the entirety of the east and west coast respectively. The eponymous character, Joseph Dredd, is a street judge, an individual working within the Justice Department who is essentially given the power to be judge, jury, and executioner, giving out sentences on the spot for any crime they come across, and keeping the megacities in check under the Justice Department's authoritarian rule. Dredd's first appearance was in the second issue, or prog, of 2000 AD Comics, released in March 5th, 1977. Just a side note here, when reading the Dredd comics, I'd always see the word prog come up. So looking into that, prog was short form for program, which was what each individual issue of 2000 AD Comics was referred to. Dredd's first story was titled Judge Whitey, and has our eponymous hero hunt down a gang leader named William Whitey Logan. The story begins with Whitey and his gang murdering a judge named Alvin. The gang then handcuff the judge corpse to his lawmaker motorcycle and send it back to the halls of justice on automatic. They then take refuge in the broken remains of the Empire State Building. Upon discovering Alvin's body, the Grand Judge orders the bombing of the building with an airstrike.
Whitey's one of those lawbreakers holed up in the Empire State. I'll send in an air squad to bomb that building and everyone in it off the face of the earth.
But our hero petitions to go in alone and take down the gang single-handedly.
No! Who's gonna have respect for the law if we cull in the heavy boys as soon as the going gets tough? I'll go in. Alone.
Then, he does so. To be honest, you could probably read the entire dang story in the time it took for me to describe it. With 2000 AD Comics being an anthology comic, most of these stories are like 5 pages max. I really like Judge Dredd. He's a competent, if not grumpy, no-nonsense man, existing in an interesting, often satirical, and sometimes, and forgive me for using such a harsh word, but downright zany world. Dredd, to me, at least, often stands out as one of the strangest things in this universe, a humorless ballbuster existing in a world gone wacky. And that's one of the reasons I like him so much as a character. I can relate to being a humorless, grumpy stick in the mud in a world that continuously seems to fall into parody. Except I don't have a cool helmet. But I could. Oh, I could. Also, what other series can I see a cop fight a dinosaur? It's fucking rad. One last little thing. In the year 2000 AD, Rebellion purchased 2000 AD Comics. Apparently, Rebellion Developments, you know, the Sniper Elite guys, have an entire publishing division where they publish 2000 AD Comics, Judge Dredd magazine, and various novel publishing labels. It's not exactly what I would call interesting, I just thought it was worth mentioning, as I was supremely confused when I saw the Rebellion logo in the inner cover of my Dredd collection. Now the actual last thing I need to mention before we start proper is that this is a PC port of a 2003 console game, so of course we're gonna have to do some tinkering. But fear not, because we can get this game running proper in no time. To the wiki! First, we're going to cap the frame rate at 60. I did this in the NVIDIA control panel, and I assume AMD cards have something similar. Then, download DG Voodoo and follow the instructions on the PC Gaming Wiki page. Finally, we need to download the Custom Resolution tool. This lets us set the FOV and forces the game to run in a resolution of our choice. I'll leave a link to the wiki page in the description. You can find everything you need there. Hey folks, just wanted to give a quick update on the Stop Killing Games campaign. The Canadian petition is up, so if you're a fucking leaf like I am, go to stopkillinggames.com and get it signed. So the game kind of just throws you in there. There's a brief training level, but we don't need that. I know how my shield works. We've all played Halo. Aside from a paragraph on the loading screen, there is not much exposition or set dressing. Just a bunch of
bleeding heart liberals.
I'm not even sure what these clowns are protesting, but they're going in the cubes.
Hands behind your head, creep.
This is an outrage.
Stop in the name of the law.
Okay.
You're going down. 10 years. 10 years, lawbreaker. You're going down. 10 years.
Get used to hearing this. What we're doing here is a cornerstone of the gameplay. So, after we arrest the protesters, we get informed that there are some ne'er-do-wells tagging the outer walls of the Justice Department. Not on my watch, creep.
Freeze!
Well, hello,
Drop 'em.
officer.
Death cults? Not in my town.
Drop
To
'em.
riot.
I'm locking you away. 50.
Devil worship. That's the focus tonight.
Jeez, we're not wasting any time here, are we? Never a dull moment. Where the hell are we? Detroit? Actually, considering the setting, this very well could be Detroit. These low-rank criminals are no match for my high-caliber bullets.
Your name on it. Foul, lawbreaker. And you're coming with me. Freeze! Stop in the name of the law.
Oh, shit.
Life imprisonment.
Damn, somebody really should help him.
I need medical assistance.
Thanks, Doc.
What was that thing?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Excuse you? This is some strange pacing for the first level. I feel like you could have stretched these incidents into their own levels. You know, you could start dealing with street toughs and gangbangers. Then we could have an actual honest-to-goodness bank heist with its own level instead of just a single big-ass room. I think having a bank robbery level would be pretty cool. I mean, that's how Sin started. Instead, we get to shoot vampires that make Hanna-Barbera dragon noises. Once we shoot enough vampires, we get informed that there's a riot at Nixon Penitentiary, and that the Dark Judges are at risk of escaping. Who are the Dark Judges, you may ask? To which I'd respond, wait, what? What do you mean you didn't ask that? Well, what do you want to ask me? No, it's not happening again. You're not The Dark Judges are judges from another dimension who, by way of snuffing out all life on their version of Earth, have become basically the four horsemen of the apocalypse. There's Judge Mortis, Fire, Fear, and the eponymous Death. They're being kept at Nixon Penitentiary in special cells that can hold their astral forms. Because while any physical bodies they inhabit can be killed, their spooky ghost forms cannot. And in order to fight their ghost forms, we need help from the Psi Division, which are kind of like Psychers from 40K, but not nearly as varied. And if you don't know what those are, it's preposterous. Why would you even be here? There's a Venn diagram of people who watch reviews of old video games on the internet and those who have at least a cursory amount of Warhammer knowledge, and that diagram is a circle. That's my internet headcanon, and I'm sticking to it, god damn it. Let's go to prison. On top of the riot, there are more vampires as well. I don't like fighting these vampires. I don't know if it's something breaking because of the modern hardware or just the jank, but the enemies claw through your shields like nothing. Mix that with the very little feedback you get from getting hit with melee, and these vampires can take you down very quickly. Also, why is the little bisected circle the shield and not the big solid bar? What are you doing? I thought you played Halo. Wasn't expecting to shoot this many vampires when I booted up a game about Judge Dredd. Why do I always get the feral monster vampires, not the hot goth ones? I wish I was in the inner city arresting perps.
Emergency release activated.
Now, sinner, prepare to be judged. The crime is life. The sentence is death.
Damn, he did not have to drop a line that hard on us. Okay, so there isn't much of a story to speak of here, but just to be safe, I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning. If you don't want to know how this game ends, go to here. I'll give you a moment to make your decision. So how are you doing? Everything alright? I hope it's going alright for you. I really do. Alright, champ, let's go shoot stuff.
Dredd here. Come in, control.
Dredd, we've lost radio contact with a squad of Psi judges in Sector 13 docks. They were tracking the Dark Judges.
I'll find them.
It's Dredd.
Throw down your weapon. You're under arrest.
Say what you will about this man, but he knows how to make an entrance. Since the Dark Judges have escaped, we should start putting the squeeze on these death cultists. And there's no better place to start our search for the disaffected goth population than the docks. The goths love shipping and receiving. They crave the industrial sector. Finally, a level with no goddamn vampires. Now we can deal with the real problem plaguing this city. Surly young people and weird religious fanatics.
15 years, creep.
I wonder what this does. It's in this level that I learned that you can shoot the enemies in the arm to make them drop their weapons. For most of the enemies, this will make them surrender immediately. There are some that won't surrender, no matter how many times you disarm them, though. Before, I was just praying and spraying and hoping these goobers would surrender. But not anymore. You're all going to the cubes now.
Hold it, creep.
I only just got out.
Stop in the name of the law.
Shit. The generic street toughs dry up pretty quick, and we start seeing more and more generic cultists. We stumble across a few more weapons in this level as well. We can only hold 2 weapons at a time, which is a shame. We can find a terrible shotgun, a light machine gun, and a chargeable laser. The machine gun and the laser make arm shooting a breeze, but the laser is also a headshot machine. After wandering through the docks for a little too long, we come across a Necrus, who I think is the death cult leader, and he's just hanging out, big chillin'. Ow! Fuck off! Looks like he had a bunch of side judges strapped to these sinister chairs. Apparently the Dark Judges can now take human form, but that's gonna have to wait, because we have to go shopping. Get it? It's because the mall is filled with zombies. God, I'm such a fucking loser. So the mall is filled with zombies, and we have to clear them out. If we poke around some, we can find the game's actual shotgun. It's a little slow to fire, but it kills things real good. It also holds like 20 fucking shells, damn. We spend most of the time shooting zombies and escorting normies out of the mall. It's not too bad. The AIS pathfinding sucks, but this isn't my first rodeo with this kind of situation.
You're a good... Fantastic.
There's a segment where we have to arrest a bunch of looters and we get to raid a nightclub. I like the nightclub because the zombies aren't even attacking the normies, they're just dancing. We also learn that the zombies are in fact not the fault of the Dark Judges, but instead a side effect of a pet rejuvenation serum produced by a company called Icarus Labs. We've actually been hearing ads for this pet regeneration service throughout the last few levels.
There, folks.
Dr. Dick Icarus? Fluffy? He's alive! But how?
Pet Regen will bring your pets back to life. Available now, Pet Regen, because they're worth it. Drop your weapon.
I think it's time we pay this Dr. Dick Icarus a visit. Dick Icarus sounds like a name I'd order pizzas with. Damn, that's a good name. Why didn't I name this channel Dick Icarus? It's probably already taken anyway. Quick aside, I googled Dick Icarus just to see what would come up, and one of the first entries on Google is a Wikipedia article for a former Canadian Olympic swimmer and vice president of the Olympic International Committee named Dick Pound. Now, that is a fucking name if I've ever heard one. We arrive at Icarus Labs and mostly just shoot computer terminals and punch vampires. We find Dr. Icarus, and Dredd isn't fucking around when dealing with this goober.
You have
discovered the key to immortality. No one can stop me now.
Warning. Incubation chamber is activated.
I guess you could say this dick's gone soft. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. We escape the now destroyed Icarus Labs and find an encampment of death cultists hanging out in the sewers underneath the facility. There's a new baddie with a grenade launcher we get introduced to. Other than that, it's just more of the same. But I will take arresting baddies over dealing with the Jankpires. Next level is called Mean Streets, and it's just a lot of arresting death cultists and a little bit of escorting at the end. You're not missing much. This is the only interesting thing that happened. We got reports that Judge Mortis is in Clooney Hospital, and that means more zombies. Oh.
Welcome to the city medical.
This level does have a bit of a mix-up. We have to deliver various groups of survivors to the safe rooms while dealing with the zombies. I die here more than any other level, but that's mostly because I had to keep restarting because one of these goobers would die. You don't have to save them all, but I mean, I did. Be careful, because some of the corpses in the safe zones are just zombies lying in wait. Cheeky bastards. Now we can finally face off against Judge Mortis. He shoots amorphous green stuff at us and chases us through the arena, but we can't shoot him. If we kill his physical form, he just turns into a ghost and flies away. So what we have to do is move these goobers out of the chambers they're hiding in, but don't take them out of the arena. Mortis will kill them before they can escape. After they're all moved out, we shoot the valves and flood the room with antiseptic gas. Then we can escort the survivors out of the area. Judge Mortis just runs his ass in one of those panic rooms, and he's even nice enough to wait for us to lock him in. Ain't no flies on me. Next, we have to take care of Judge Fire in the Smokatorium. I like how Judge Fire stands out from his contemporaries. Like, we have all the other dark judges that are kind of based on concepts like fear and death, and well, Mortis is kind of the same thing as death, but he has, his overall vibe is more of like plague and sickness. They all have these like haunting, ghoulish portraits, death with his deranged rictus smile, Mortis with his skull, fear with his winged helmet and piercing eyes. And then you have a dude that's just a skeleton that's on fire. Which, don't get me wrong, I love. I love a good skeleton. This is peak character design for me. But he just kind of stands out, you know? And in the time it took to say all that, the level is over. All we had to do was activate the fire systems, turn on the sprinklers, and Judge Fire is running around, but half the time he gets stuck through the crappy pathfinding or gets distracted killing civilians. 2 more to go. We're hot on Judge Death's tail, and he's holed up in the nearby Rysick Center. A Rysick Center is essentially a giant morgue corpse processing facility that handles the megacity's dead. So you know what that means. More zombies. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but all we have to do here is run around and shoot zombies. This, give or take a boss fight or two, is pretty much what the rest of the game looks like. Oh shit. Wait, what happened? That was anticlimactic.
Anderson to Dredd, do you copy?
Dredd here. Death is escaping into the Undercity.
Run. Judge Fear is down here somewhere too.
You're down there already? We've got to stop him.
Think I'm doing, Joe. Get down here.
Now we get to go to the sewers. Ugh. Okay, technically it's the Undercity. Still a big sewer in all but name, though. Necromunda, this ain't. Judge Anderson chased Death and Fear down here, and now I have to find her. The level presents itself almost like a horror section, except they forgot to add anything that might actually scare you, or any sort of tension whatsoever. It's the same zombies and jankpires. I did have this happen to me, though.
Come quietly, citizen.
Hold your fire.
The SJS are coming for you.
So, for some reason, shooting these guys was lowering my law meter, and then Control was sending the extrajudicial squad after me. Honestly, I forgot all about the law meter at this point. At first, I thought they were trying to, like, do a horror bit here, like Judge Fear's messing with your perception, but no. After a few tries, it stopped. Now it's time to face off against Judge Fear, and he just runs around and throws comically large Roger Rabbit bear traps at you. The law fears nothing, creep.
Control, I've trapped Judge Fear in the Egyptian vault of the Metropolitan Museum.
Roger that.
Anderson must have gone through. Druck!
Dead World is the original home of the Dark Judges, a barren, desolate hellscape where life itself is a crime of the worst degree. And it's filled with skeletons and jankpires. Alright, I might be over-exaggerating a little bit. I've definitely played much, much worse. At least this shotgun is nice. We find Anderson, and Death has her trapped in some whack-ass laser prison. He's got not only her, but a few other side judges trapped as well. He's also got Dr. What was his? Icarus. Fuck. I almost called him Dr. Insano. Oh.
This thing is invulnerable. Seems to be drawing its power from the side judges.
Wait, what? I thought that's what I had to do. I was using the only tools you gave me.
This is what I was trained to do.
So we have to release the side judges and make sure they get to the pedestal Anderson is floating over. Yeah, we don't even get to fight Judge Death mano a mano. Icarus's fucked up goop homunculus body is like invulnerable or some shit. So the side judges deal with the homunculus, and Anderson traps Death within her mind. She passes out, and Dredd carries her home through the portal. Don't worry, this isn't the first time this has happened. She'll be fine. We get one last cutscene. Judge Hershey congratulates Dredd on a job well done, and Anderson is there too. Dredd gets a call on the radio, and it's back to work. Just another day in the life.
Block war in progress. Corner of Reeves and Hopper.
On my way, Control. Dredd out.
I guess we'll never know.
Holy shit, Toby Longworth is in this? Dredd vs. Death is a first-person shooter, and that's really about it. You spend a lot of time shooting dudes in the first person. I mean, even the most rudimentary shooters usually have you do something other than shooting things, like finding keys or solving puzzles or platforming, but not here. The campaign for this game is about 4 or so hours, give or take. Maybe you could stretch it to 6 if you're being generous. And for the entirety of that 4 to 6 hours, you're going to be shooting things, pushing buttons, and occasionally escorting NPCs. Now, they do try and spice up the gameplay in theory. As I spoke on before, you can disarm most enemies by shooting the weapons out of their hand, and you can shout for compliance to make them surrender. You can arrest the surrendering enemies and get a cute little pop-up with their name, what they're being arrested for, and various other crimes they've committed, as well as their sentence. This is a cool little detail, but it often goes by way too fast to really read it, and, like, I can't appreciate your jokes if I can't read them. Game. Arresting enemies does 2 things. 1, the total years sentenced is tallied up at the end of the level and affects your level rating. At least I think it does. Which is a cute in-universe way to tally up your score, I guess. It also raises your law meter. The law meter is another cool concept. In theory. You see, the more lawful things you do, the higher it gets, and the more unlawful things you do, like shooting surrendered enemies and civilians, lowers it. If the law meter reaches 0, dispatch sends an extrajudicial squad to come after you and fry your ass. If the levels were a bit more open and you could find like petty crimes to stop, and if the game gave you like more means to deal with the enemies, like if it took into like use of force, and it could be a really neat concept. But in reality, I forgot it was there for most of the game. It just feels undercooked like most aspects of this game. So how does the shooting feel? It's not terrible, but it's not very good either. The guns sound alright, and some of them feel like they have some kick, but the biggest issue I have with the gunplay is the reloading. The animations are so damn slow. The reloads just grind the pace of the combat to a halt. It removes any flow the combat could have. You're just constantly waiting on this asshole to leisurely load his weapon. I understand the decision some games make to have a slower, more methodical pace with their combat, but this game ain't that. This is just poor execution. Another weird thing I noticed was how inconsistent explosions felt. Sometimes with the explosive weapons, I'd melt multiple enemies, or other times they'd just shrug off the damage like it was nothing. Most of the weapons feel alright, although you can only hold 2 of them at a time, and one of them always has to be your lawgiver pistol. So it's really like a 1-weapon limit. The only other game I can think of that does something like this is Fire Warrior. And don't you worry, we're gonna get to you at some point.
This is not fucking canon!
Oh, that's the 2nd time in this episode this has happened. That being said, the Lawgiver does have multiple firing modes like in the comics. You have the normal burst fire, a homing shot, a high explosive round, incendiary rounds, and ricochet. Sadly, the game never really gives you a reason or any situations to use these in. The high-X and incendiary rounds can be kind of useful, but not very much. The zombies and the Jankpires don't really react to being set on fire, and you're probably going to want to use the normal rounds on the other enemies because you're supposed to be arresting them. Like, so much of this game, there was a neat idea here, but it was never fleshed out. The way this game counts ammo is also really weird. It counts available ammo in magazines instead of a big pool, and it never lets you know the exact amount of shots in any given magazine. You just have this bar showing how much you have left. It almost feels like they wanted to have a more thoughtful ammo system where every time you reload, you lose whatever ammo you had in the magazine, would have to like count your mags, which combined with slower reloads and slower combat could make for an interesting, more methodical approach to combat. But like I said, this ain't that kind of game. The game has a few extra modes outside of the campaign, first of which is a series of extra challenge maps. Like, each map has its own little story and setting. They'll have you play as different characters. It kind of reminded me of Timesplitters 2. You know, without, like, the fun gameplay and the charm that Timesplitters has. The thing that kills these modes for me is just how bad the spawning is. You'd have a mission where you have to survive 5 minutes or kill a certain amount of enemies, and these fuckers would just spawn every time you turned your back. Like, here's a mission where I have to arrest a certain number of people, and these fuckers are just spawning in the corners behind me before I can even start arresting.
Don't move, creep. Hold it, creep. You're going away for keeps. Life imprisonment. You're gonna spend the rest of your natural life in the queues. Life imprisonment. Freeze, perp. You can do this the easy way or the hard way. You're gonna spend the next year in the penitentiary. Assume the position, creep. Life, we're gonna throw away.
It didn't matter where you were or how many you killed, they just keep coming, and it's like, from these nonsensical areas, I can see them dropping in half the time. And it's like this on almost every map. Beating these with the Judge Dredd rating unlocks certain cheats or like multiplayer character models, but I'd be hard-pressed to say it's actually worth doing any of it. Lastly, there is a multiplayer component, which is, it's just more of the game. You can still only hold 2 weapons. The reload animations are still really slow. Overall, it's just kind of a janky experience. Why would I ever play this over like UT99 or like any other arena deathmatch shooter? Looking back, this game really does play a lot like a really mediocre Halo. I know Halo and mediocre might be synonymous to some, but like, you know what I mean. And I don't mean just because of the entire pace of the game just feels needlessly slow and boring, whereas something like Halo would have like set pieces, unique enemy encounters, a kick-ass score, you know, like fun physics to fuck around with. Here we just have 6 hours of There are no set pieces, there are no special enemies, there are no memorable moments. Even the dispatcher that talks in your ear the entire time is just devoid of any personality. It's so blasé. It lacks personality in almost every way, and that's such a goddamn shame because the source material it's based on has so much personality. In terms of presentation, Dredd vs. Death is bland. The overall visuals, I'd say, are passable, at least for the time it was released. I mean, it's not a great-looking game, but it's far from the worst, at least for the time. I get very specific Timesplitters vibes from these character models, and I can't put into words why. And a lot of the environments remind me a lot of UT99, although the Timesplitters models look leagues better than these, and the UT99 maps actually had more personality than half the maps you're going to run through here. I really do like the Judge models, though. Fuck. I'm really struggling this time around to find anything to talk about. I mean, like, while the art style is nice, at least in terms of, like, character and weapon models, I mean, as it should be. I mean, they have, 36 years of comic art to pull inspiration from, so I'd expect at least some points of the game to look the part. So much of everything else is just so bland. The game starts off pretty strong, in my opinion. I mean, the first level has this cool city skyline with lots of big buildings. You got posters and, like, little jokes to look at. But after that level, it all goes immediately downhill. We make this transition from big sci-fi cityscape to bland, barren, concrete environments, and never really move away from that. The game never recaptures that first little kindling of interest the first level gives you. So many bland and empty concrete corridors. I get that sci-fi brutalism is kind of a theme with the megacity architecture, at least with some of the art you can find, but that isn't what this is. These levels look almost like beta levels. Almost no room as you enter is furnished. There are hardly any props anywhere. You're rarely ever rewarded for looking around with like a secret or an alternate path. It's just hall after hall of empty, linear corridors, and it all feels so sterile. It really does feel like they just forgot to populate half these levels with like any props or anything whatsoever. Okay, positive thing. What positive things can I say about this game? The weapon animations are nice. I like the little vents on the pistol that expel gas or whatever after you fire. I like how Dredd puts both of his hands on the pistol when you switch to the high X rounds. I think that's a nice touch. The reload animations are nice, I guess, even if they are slow. Although changing the FOV kind of messes with some of them. You can see the pistol mag just kind of hang in there after it's ejected. There's this billboard in the first level that just says, "Think fat." I thought that was pretty funny. You see, there's an entire subculture of people in the Judge Dredd universe, aptly referred to as fatties, and they just eat to pass the time, eventually becoming excessively obese and needing a little wheel to haul themselves around. Presentation, yeah. So, how does the game hold up in the sound department? I mean, in terms of music, there are a few levels that sometimes have music. Or, I mean, I should say isolated parts of a few levels that have some catchy tracks, but that's about it. They don't even play for the entire level, or even like multiple parts in that level. They just kind of start up and play for a bit and then stop. They're not really replaced with anything. You go from there being music to there just not really being music. I didn't really notice any names in the voice cast aside from Toby Longworth. And looking at his IMDb, apparently Toby has done the voice of Judge Dredd in a handful of what I assume are audio dramas. He does a good job. I enjoy his characterization of Dredd. I know Toby Longworth primarily from Black Library audiobooks, like the Eisenhorn and Gaunt's Ghost series, to be specific. Black Library is the publishing label for Warhammer books, but you already knew that. We went over this earlier. He also performed the reading for Rendezvous with Rama, which is one of my all-time favorite books. It's a superb job on that. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it, just roll the... Well, shit, that was kind of disappointing. I remember playing this game on the OG Xbox and really liking it. I distinctly remember it being very short, but I remember liking it. And, oh boy, did my memories not really hold up. I thought it would be a fun, brief little shooter to play through, and well, I mean, it was two of those things, at least. It's a shame that such a cool license is such a mediocre game. Where's my SWAT 4 Judge Dredd game, or I guess even something like XCOM could work in this universe. Hell, you could set an entire game outside the megacities in the wasteland, and they'd have tons of wild shit out there. I mean, like, come on, they made a good RoboCop game, and no shade to the RoboCop game, of course. But, like, he's got one good movie. Dredd has tons of shit you could pull inspiration from. Oh well, at least we have the 2012 Dredd movie. If you haven't seen that, definitely go see that. That movie is phenomenal. Not like this. Well, that's it for today. I was hoping this game would hold up better than it did. Either way, maybe for the next video I'll do a comic book game from my youth that actually holds up to my memories of it. Alrighty folks, so until next time, stay safe and take care. Beep, 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 beep.